Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Sana Maqbool and I will be the moderator of this discussion. At this Refugee Summit in Islamabad, we are marking 40 years of the Afghan refugee situation in Pakistan. It is a timely reminder of the fate of millions of Afghans living as refugees. For more than 40 years, Afghans have continued to flee violence, war, conflict, and natural disasters. We've all gathered here at this Refugee Summit to commemorate 40 years and pledge our support for the refugees and also the host countries, but it's also important that this support addresses the real needs and aspirations of the refugees. Ladies and gentlemen, there's no better way of finding out what these are other than by speaking to the refugees themselves. We've therefore brought together a distinguished panel of young refugees who were born and raised in Pakistan and Iran, and who will speak to us of their hopes and dreams, as well as aspirations for the future, including in Afghanistan. Two other important voices raising awareness of the refugee cause are also joining us today, who in their respective capacities are making great efforts towards highlighting and fulfilling the needs of the Afghan refugees. Let me first introduce my first panelist today, Ms. Hina Shekhani, who was born in 1998 in Peshawar to Afghan parents. She grew up in Peshawar, where she now studies business administration at the University of Peshawar on a Dafi scholarship. When not studying, she is involved in research and awareness raising related to education for refugees, particularly girls. Thank you very much for being with us, Ms. Hina.
Thank you so much, Sana, for having me here today, and that's an honor to be among so many great leaders here.
Absolutely. My next panelist is Ms. Fatima Hussaini, who was born in 1993 in the Islamic Republic of Iran. Upon finishing high school and in view of pursuing higher education, Fatima traveled to Afghanistan in the year 2013 for the first time to exchange her Amaish card for a national passport. She has studied photography at the University of Tehran and has since established herself as an internationally recognized photographer and videographer. Today, her work is showcased both in the Islamic Republic of Iran and internationally. She teaches photography and design at Kabul University. More than 1.5 years ago, she also started a foundation with the name Masturat's Art Organization, where she projects women's arts and also empowers them. Thank you very much for being with us, Ms. Fatima.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have also been joined by Dr. Salima, who was born in 1991 in a Sawabi camp, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Today, she is breaking barriers to heal the poor, particularly refugee women in childbearing years. Salima is a doctor and practicing medicine in a hospital in Rawalpindi. She is now specializing in gynecology at Holy Family Hospital. She is considered the first Afghan refugee woman of Turkmen descent to ever become a doctor. Her contributions to Turkmen women are particularly significant, providing medical services to those in her community and who speak her language. In her community in Attock, Punjab, where she grew up and where her family resides, an increasing number of girls are being sent to schools as a result of her example. Thank you very much, Dr. Salima, for being with us.
It's such an honor for me to provide me this opportunity to speak on at this platform.
Our next panelist is Ms. Huma Adnan, who has a bachelor's degree in statistical mathematics and a master's degree in business administration. Her initial work experiences were with an ad agency and a bank, and later she joined her family's fashion business and worked as a director of marketing for 10 years. She has also launched her independent clothing line, Funk Asia, and over the next 15 years, she added 2 more brands to her portfolio, Huma Adnan's signature couture line and Craft Stories, which are accessories and jewelry. She firmly believes in providing livelihood opportunities to refugees and making a more sustainable and valuable contribution to society as a whole. She recently took the brand Craft Stories to a fashion trade fair in Paris called Who's Next for global exposure, and have booked orders from international buyers for jewelry made by the refugee women, such as the necklace that I'm wearing today. Thank you for being with us, Huma. Next, ladies and gentlemen, is Ms. Mahira Khan, who is a renowned television and film actress working in Pakistan. After her initial success in commercial films and television series in Pakistan, she was cast opposite Bollywood superstar Shah Rukh Khan in 2017, which marked an important milestone for Pakistani actors and actresses who have never previously played a leading role opposite Khan. Her celebrity has since transcended borders, with millions following her work around the world. She's appointed as a National Goodwill Ambassador in November 2019. She skillfully leverages her influence to support social causes. Over the past 5 years, she has been associated with the Shaukat Khanum Cancer Hospital, pioneering breast care awareness. In 2018, Myra began working with UNHCR to advocate for the plight of the Afghan refugees in Pakistan. She has participated in field missions, visiting UNHCR's Voluntary Repatriation Center in Nowshera and also refugee settlement in Karachi. She has also accompanied the High Commissioner during one such visit. Myra continues to mobilize audiences of all ages with her wit and wisdom, speaking on many platforms. These include the Global Teachers' Prize ceremony hosted by the Waqi Foundation in Dubai, the Aga Khan University Special Lecture Series in Karachi, and TEDx Lahore. Thank you very much for being with us today, Mahira.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. I'm honored to be with all of these girls. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll start the discussion with you, Hina. If you can just please tell us, the audience, your personal journey and your story.
Thank you very much for your question. Well, I was a born refugee in Peshawar, Pakistan. My family had fled Afghanistan during the war in 1993. Growing up, I've seen majority of the girls being deprived of their basic rights, lack of freedom of choice, expression, and even personal life decisions. So this motivated me to pursue the highest level of education and break the stereotypes that our dreams, choices, or passion has any limit. Because for me, education is a bridge that connects dreams with reality and earns you self-reliance and dignity. My education journey has been interesting and challenging. After graduating my primary school with excellent grades, I was very hopeful to get selected in one of the prestigious colleges. But I was rejected because there was a very limited number of seats allocated for the refugees. But being hopeful, I didn't let the refugee label restrict my capabilities, and I went and applied in a private college where I was selected for a scholarship, and when coming into university, I faced the same challenge, the same situation. But this time, luckily, I got the chance to win that one seat available for refugees, and that's how I got access into higher education. And that was the same year where I was selected for the DAFI scholarship. DAFI is Albert Einstein German Academic Refugee Initiative. Since then, DAFI has been a turning point in my life. It has not only made me self-reliant, but has opened so many doors of opportunities for me. And I must say that what I wanted was to inspire my fellow men and women to believe in themselves and follow their dreams too. Because I have my personal code, which has always been my motivation, that if we're able to dream, then we're definitely able to live those dreams. All it takes is self-esteem and determination. I don't want to miss out that aside from the challenges that I've faced, I've always felt included, loved, and welcomed by the people of Pakistan. And I think this is the best platform to thank them for all their generosity and solidarity. And I think one of the best ways of thanking any host community is to give back to them, which I'm very keen to do. Thank you.
And which you're doing. Fatma, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I was born in Tehran, Iran, and now it's about 2 years that I returned to Afghanistan. And I just established my new organization, Masturat Art Organization. It works for women and art in Afghanistan, and also I teach in Kabul University. And I am working on my first photo book that I have to shoot it in different provinces of Afghanistan, and I want to show and I want to capture unseen portrait of Afghan women in Afghanistan. I am working and I hoping to open a space for women and artists in Afghanistan, because everything that people they know about Afghan women, it's poverty, it's harassment, it's I don't know, burqa and these things. But I want to talk about, and I want to show another face of Afghanistan and bright side of Afghan women. So, and in terms of my dreams, I'm hoping and I'm working for a peaceful Afghanistan and a peaceful world, and a world where no family trusts the terrible waves of ocean, rather being in their homeland. So I am working and I want to take a message to the world of art, and I want to show the beautiful Afghanistan through my art. Thank you.
Right, and you're doing that with your organization. Salima, I know that your father started calling you Dr. Salima when you first started kindergarten. Tell the audience about that story.
My mother had difficult childbirth. On that time, my father realized the importance of education and the healthcare facilities for all the women who are deprived of these facilities. So that was the time he decided to make his unborn child a doctor. So he kept motivating me, and he enrolled me in a school when I was at the age of 3 years, and he started calling me Dr. Salima from the very first day. He always motivated me and taught me about the importance of education. And I have also noticed personally that women in our community are underprivileged, and they are so much dependent on their male members of the family to get medical access or any basic needs in their lives. So this made me, this motivated me to become helpful for them and to motivate them for education, and by helping them with my medical facility, medical services. These all things made me realize the importance of education for our people in our community. That's it. That's
right,
how I became a doctor.
You're doing great work regarding that. Thank you very much for being with us. Huma, I know that you've been working with refugees for a while now, and you're keen to provide sustainable livelihoods to them. Tell us a bit about your work.
Okay, I started working with them over a year ago, and basically the idea that I had in mind was to have these women have a sustainability, be sustainable for their families. So we started with developing craft with them, with developing heritage, keeping in mind Afghan heritage and Pakistan heritage. So we started designing different things, and to my surprise, today I can safely say that these women have really come a long way, and they have actually produced tremendous amount of beautiful jewelry that now they are proud of that. So this sustainable cycle, I think, really is important for any corporation like myself, because this is what keeps them going. This is what makes them want to pursue more, and this is what makes them go for their dreams and aspirations that they always wanted. So this is basically what my brand does, and so it's all about sustainability. It's all about going to fetch their dreams. Yeah.
Right, and it dignifies them as well. It's brilliant work that you're doing. Mahira, I've heard you say that you didn't choose this cause, the cause chose you. What did you mean?
I think, I don't know why I said that when I said that, but I'm pretty sure I said that because somewhere in my heart I believed it. And I think when I think back to why I said that, or I analyze it, it's because a lot of things in life we choose for ourselves, I wanted to be an actor. I chose that for myself. Me being successful is the audience choosing me, This cause, I honestly, of course I knew about the refugee cause, but did I actively pursue it? Did I actively look up and read about it? To be very honest, I did not, I knew it is something that worries people all over the world. And as time has gone by, it's just gotten worse with time. You know, people shutting off borders, people not being empathetic enough to think about them. But it was not something that was on my mind constantly. So when I got approached, it was just, I thought, and actually I didn't even think about it then. It was when I met the refugees. There was a moment I remember I stood there and I just, you know, looked up at God and thanked the universe that I was the one chosen to do this. So for sure, this cause chose me, and I'm very grateful that it thought of me.
And so are we. Hina, I'd like to move back to you and talk about how you envision the role of refugees, particularly women. You also talked about how you want to focus on female education. How do you feel that the role the refugees can play in rebuilding Afghanistan?
Well, as most of you might know, there are nearly 2.7 million refugees displaced to over 80 countries around the world, and most of them are refugee youth. It's us.
Right.
I look at this number not just as 2.7 million refugees, rather 2.7 million opportunities, skills, and assets that could play a very important role when repatriated back to Afghanistan and could contribute to the rebuilding process. As we're focusing particularly on women, I must say that a society is composed of both men and women. For any nation to prosper and flourish, an equal participation of men and women is needed in every field. We need women as leaders, policymakers, athletes, artists, and any other role you can think of. By education, I'm not just limiting it to academic education. By education, I mean, this is the most powerful tool you can empower women, because nowadays, if you see everywhere, there's women empowerment. And I think education is the most powerful tool for women empowerment. And educating women in a system where women can learn not just about their responsibilities, but rights as well. An education which teaches women to be strong and confident more than just being beautiful. An education which helps women to become the best version of themselves. And to be very specific, peace and development will remain abstract until our women are not fully empowered, whether it's a local citizen or a refugee woman. And today I'm feeling very proud to sit among so empowered women and represent the resilience, optimism, and determination of an Afghan woman. And I'm very keen to contribute towards the rebuilding and the bright future of Afghanistan.
And it's wonderful the way you have, absolutely. It's wonderful the way you have redefined education and what it means and how important it is for women. Salima, your story has also inspired so many other women in your community as well. We know the literacy rate has gone up. So many other Afghan girls are coming forward and going to school. Your father's been involved in the process as well. Tell us more about how you are able to provide a motivation for the rest of your community members, especially girls, to come forward and get an education.
Getting education for women in our community is not that easy. They are supposed to get married at an early age and contribute equally with their male partners for bread earning and by making handmade rugs at their home. So it was very difficult to motivate them because of their unawareness about the importance of education. I started counseling them, providing personal counseling sessions and motivating them. I accompanied them to various fields, like I often visit Afghan refugee schools and deliver motivational speeches, and little girls there get inspired by my services, and they started to go school. At the when I started my schooling, the percentage of girls going to school were less than 5%, but now it has increased to 40%, which I can proudly say. and women are getting more opportunities and empowered, and this makes me really feel proud that this is bringing some change in our community.
Right. Fatma, how have you seen other returnees and yourself as well making contributions and making a difference?
Well, actually, being a refugee is so hard. And a refugee has so many problems when they migrate and also when they return. And in both sides, there are so many problems. It depends to people, and when the refugees, they have challenges after challenges when they migrate, and when they return, some of them have been educated and find themselves, and when they back to Afghanistan, they have a voice and they can fight for their goals. But in some cases, they don't, and it's so hard because for me, and as a refugee, I was born in Tehran, Iran, and I educated there, and I have 2 grades in Iran in top universities. I also have industrial engineering and bachelor in industrial engineering and a bachelor in art from University of Tehran. My family, everything was there, but education, everything was different. When I back to Afghanistan, I imagined something different from my motherland. And when I back, I see that I have so many challenges now. Actually, the system, people, even my accent was so different with Dari in Afghanistan. So it depends to refugees. For example, Iran provide a large space for refugees for educate. And I can see so many Afghan refugees who are studying in top universities of Iran. So it's so good for a hosted country because the educated refugee can be assert to the host country. But when they back, they have so many challenges. So as I had, so it depends to people, but I hope that they find their way and to their goals and their challenges, because it's so hard when you're back to Afghanistan, when you're back to your country, you imagine something different, and when you are there, the challenges, the contacts, the people may be so different from the country that you educated, you was born and you grew up. So there are so many challenges there for a returnee refugee, and I hope a bright way for all refugees who return to their countries.
Right, which of course goes to show that it is so important for us to be able to provide safe and enabling environments for everybody who returns, for them to be reintegrated in their societies. Huma, when you first started working with the refugees, what did you initially hope to achieve? Of course, we've seen so many of their success stories bringing about such a change. What was the change you wanted?
You know, it was actually initially when I started working with them, it was very difficult for me to get them out of their homes and start working with me. So it was like a huge exercise that we went through. We explained them the path. We told them how it's going to be. A lot of them were dropouts as well. But eventually I did get a group of women that I thought that had the potential and they wanted to learn more. The thing, they had the spirit to rediscover themselves, which was a positive thing that I saw in them. And I thought that I can take it up from there. The good part about these women is that they are willing to learn, they are willing to move forward, they are willing to do anything challenging, because most important about any craft or any product, I will say product because this is the product that we do, is the quality that we produce. Unless and until the quality is world standard, it cannot be, you know, accepted anywhere.
Right.
So this was the biggest challenge that I was facing. But now, more or less, it has been covered, you know, by the continuous process that we have done. We haven't given up. They haven't given up. And it is actually the consistency you know, the consistency and the productivity that has gone forward. And I think it is a joint effort. It's not just that I have done a lot. I think they have done a lot. They have really achieved milestones. And I'm very, very proud of all these women that work with us. So, and I'm happy that they want to pursue more, they want to learn more. They are always welcoming me every time I go to the camps now. Before it was very low attendance, now it's full attendance, and I see everybody with happy faces. They come 9 o'clock sharp, and you know, they follow a regiment. They are very disciplined now, and I think these are the things that are moving them forward. They see a light at the end of the tunnel, and they see that their lives are improving. So which is the biggest battle that they have achieved.
Right, and their resilience and hope is amazing, and it's tremendous. Mahira, what was your first impression like when you first met the refugees? Was it what you expected or something different?
I don't know. I wasn't really expecting too much. Like I was not. I had not set something in my head that, oh, I'm going to do this. I was very curious to see where are they living, how are they living, what are we doing about this. What was really amazing for me to see was they were just all very hopeful. I think if you ask everybody, when you go to refugee camps, they're just very, very hopeful. Because I think, and this is it's a human instinct, right? It's something that we all feel. And if we don't have that, you're gone. So in hardships and trouble, and this is not normal trouble, this, as she said, is very, very difficult. You're neither here, you're neither there. I mean, imagine, and I said this the last time I was here, imagine not having a place that you can call home. That's basic for me and you. But you're displaced. In the very correct sense of the word, you're a displaced person. And displacement is the worst thing that can happen. But the fact that they are hopeful, and this is what I saw, whether it was back in Karachi or in Peshawar, and wanting to somehow not be displaced, you know, and the only way they can do that is to achieve a dream, to be able to study the way that I studied or so-and-so studied, to be able to have a place they can call home or their own country. And it's quite amazing because, like Uma said, it's not just that Pakistan's working towards it, so are they. It's sort of in tandem.
Right.
It's together. So I mean, I think honestly, going there is something. I used to say this about Shaukat Khanum, I say this about the refugees. I think schools should provide this. Kids need to go to refugee camps. You know, we take them everywhere else. We go on field trips. This should be mandatory so that they experience this. I experienced it at a very old age. I feel like people should know about this because more awareness will just create more tolerance and more acceptance.
Absolutely, and first-hand experience is definitely going to have an impact and change things.
Yes.
And of course, it's lovely to have you here in that sense as well, because our audience and then the larger audience who's going to be watching us is going to be able to hear your stories. Fatma, of course, we talk about your resilience and your hope. What are your hopes and dreams for the future, not just for yourself, but also for other refugees and your community members?
Actually, I worked for refugees and IDPs and returnees in Afghanistan for different agencies. And I'm proud of those who find their ways. And sometimes it really melts my heart to see children living in camps. And I don't know, it's so hard for me to see, to go to different provinces and see these people. So actually, I want to say that we cannot change the past, but we can build the future. And this is the responsibility of all of us. Thank you.
Absolutely, it is. It is not just a responsibility of host countries anywhere. It's not just talking specifically about Pakistan, but generally, as a world community, we must, of course, on a humanitarian level, help refugees all over the world. Hina, you recently attended the Global Refugee Forum. What do you think is the most important or the most helpful thing that the world can do to help refugees all over?
What I consider the most important at this point is to stop stigmatizing refugees and start treating them like other human beings with equal rights and opportunities. We can help refugees by just smiling at them, accepting and welcoming them, because when we try to treat everyone equally, we don't call that help. We call it humanity, and that's all we need. Such inclusion could kickstart different forms of help, like investing in refugee education, skills, jobs, and livelihoods. So I consider this as the most important thing, that it's a message to everyone in the world. What are we striving for right now is humanity, peace, development. And it all starts with education, because if we start educating and practicing humanity, equality, tomorrow we don't need to fight for humanity. And I should say that we didn't choose to flee our home. We didn't choose to become a refugee, but we choose to never give up.
And that's a great choice. Well done. Of course, there are many challenges in that choice as well, and many obstacles that you face when you're battling and struggling hard in lives that you're living. Dr. Salima, would you share some of the obstacles and challenges that you face, particularly in your profession?
Being the first one among my community to become a doctor, there were so many challenges, and that was for the first time which I had to face all alone. And there was only one seat reserved for Afghan refugees, for which I struggled and worked hard to get that seat, to prove myself, to prove my community that I can be, a woman can be so productive. So there were some challenges which never let me down, and I kept trying and trying. And regarding obstacles, I want to mention that after my training, which is going to be end in January 2021, and after that, my services will be limited due to the lack of opportunities. So I request government of Pakistan to provide us more opportunities and equal rights till there is peace in Afghanistan, because peace is very important. Nobody can understand the significance of peace until they have walked in the shoes of a refugee. So I demand peace, and our futures should be certain, because there is so much uncertainty about future. And I aspire to make bigger impact by serving all the people in Pakistan as well as my community, to give back them which I have.
Which you are doing, and you are a great example, of course, of turning challenges into opportunities. So we are really proud of that. Huma, what would be your main aspirations if you were to become the CEO of a global brand? How would you take this forward, what you're currently doing, and bring into light the women and the men that you work with?
I would like to actually endorse what Hina said about inclusion. I think this is the future of any corporate organization, that inclusivity must be an important thing in every organization. There must be a certain percentage of inclusivity to be given to organizations. Like, for instance, in my organization, we do have a lot of, I'm working with the refugees. Over and above, we also have deaf people that are working in our organization. In fact, 2 master trainers are both deaf. So, this is something very special that we have to our heart, we keep to our hearts. And most importantly, the group that, the refugees that we have, 2 of them are autistic, and I really am very happy to have them in my group, and I think I'm lucky that I am a part of them, and that they all are working together to achieve this objective of sustainability and to be independent and to be on their own. So what I would like to tell the governments, the organizations, is that inclusivity is something they need to really ponder upon. They should be quotas, I think, for every organization on every level, be it governmental or be it private, that there should be inclusive communities as a part of every organization. So this is, I think, the future of anybody, like any company. So
right, and that's
this needs to
needed.
be taken forward. Yeah.
Absolutely. Mahira, of course, you are the UNHCR's National Goodwill Ambassador, and we know that you've been raising voice at multiple platforms. What more do you hope to do to support and advocate for refugees in Pakistan?
I mean, I commend, by the way, all of you guys. Every time I'm here, I feel like I've done nothing, you know, compared to all of you guys. But I think the most important thing that I have been given is my platform, my voice. And I think if I can use that, which I have been, but a little bit more. I mean, we do a lot of things. We try to understand how is it, because there are a lot of misconceptions, as all of you mentioned, that the first and foremost thing is not to think of refugee as a refugee. That who is this person? No, it's just another human being. And fortunately for you, you are not that. You're lucky that you're not a refugee. You know, there are a lot of misconceptions that generally people have about refugees. And again, they're not to be blamed because they have not been educated about it. The common perception of a refugee is completely incorrect. You know, I remember speaking to my mother about it, and my mother had a misconception to a slight degree. You know, there are a lot of people, and God, I hope my mother doesn't see this, but because now it's just, you know, it's easy for me to say my mother, but a lot of people, even my friends, you know, there's this common perception that, oh, people who come from another country and they come in, they actually are not good for us because there is a piece of a pie, that is our country, and why should anyone else eat off that?
Right.
It is such an archaic concept. It's such a, I would say, an ignorant understanding of what our country should be like or what humanity is like. Because the more you provide, the more you're given back. The more you make every single person who is being housed in your country a job, education, the better it is for your country. Apart from the fact that on a humane level, that is what you are supposed to do. It's as basic as that. As Hina said, that it's not about are we being kind to them? No, we are just being humane to them. That is just, I mean, if I deserve...
Basic, right.
It's basic human rights. If I deserve a house, so do you, so do you, so do you. If I deserve a dream, so do you, so do you, so do you. So I think that is, that's the core of it. My responsibility is that I need to talk about it as much as I can because I've got more ears listening to me. I've got more eyes watching me. So we make all these videos. We try to, you know, bring it up. Hopefully, one day we can have dramas and films which are based on refugees. I think that would be an amazing thing. But yeah, so that's what I plan to do. That's what I have been doing, and hopefully I'll continue to do that.
Right, and like you said, of course, these concepts that are misunderstood are so common, it's surprising. You'll find it in people that you don't really expect to find it in.
Absolutely, yes. And that's, again, I think it is the lack of awareness.
Yeah. Right.
You know, and it is the lack of human contact. That is something that I really feel. I mean, if I could sit with Hina and speak to her about her issues, or Dr. Salima, or I would actually instantly understand them. But because I don't have a story, you know, because I don't hear them on television enough or read about them, how will I ever connect?
Right.
So this is basic, you know, this is basic, and I hope that we can all sort of make a change in this perception.
Right. Hina, you talked about a similar thing as well, about how you did feel included and how you hope for an even more inclusive society and how it needs to change. As you mentioned, even a smile is enough. how more do you think can people actually help towards understanding refugees better? Of course, a conversation or contact will help, but in your capacity, what do you think you can do?
Well, as Mahra said, that there's a lack of awareness. Even my friends who are in university with me, when they come, like to know that I'm a refugee, and they said that you don't have a Pakistani citizenship. I was like, no, I have a card. And they were like, but you're born here and everything, but still, like why you're considered a refugee. So of course, this is the lack of awareness.
Right.
And everything starts with awareness, because when you live with people, among people, you come to understand them. The better you understand, the better you know that there are common things between you. And the common thing between all of us is compassion, love, and kindness. Nothing else. So if we share love, kindness, and compassion, nothing could really discriminate us. And this is how we connect societies, nations, countries, and ultimately world.
Absolutely. Fatma, of course, when we say that we're investing in the young refugee population, as you mentioned, Hina, most of them are under the age of 25, so they're very, very young. When we're investing in such potential, we're also investing in peace and prosperity, and not just for Afghanistan, but also for host countries as well. It's important. As a returnee, how have you felt the impact of such investments in refugees, where their education or their skill development is done, and then they can contribute back towards society?
Education is so important for a refugee because it allowed us to have a voice and to advocate other opportunities for fellow refugees. So an educated refugee can have voice and can be, as I said, an asset to the hosted countries. So it's so important. Although I had so many problems with the education, for example, I had some limitations for choosing some courses because I was a refugee in Iran. And there are so many other people that recently it has been changed. So I think education is so important, and because it gives us voice, it gives you power, and you can find your place in the world and talk about your goals and talk about other people and other refugees, problems and opportunities to your country. And in a country like Afghanistan, we have so many problems there. Actually, I teach in Kabul University in art faculty. And can you believe it that in photography faculty, we have only 3 teachers. And when I see, for example, in Pakistan, in Lahore art universities, in Tehran University, there is larger library of books. There are many amazing and educated with high-level professors, and what we don't have in Afghanistan. And I hope all the educated person that they educate in other countries, they back to Afghanistan, because we have so many problems and less opportunities for education. However, these days there are so many scholarships, and there are new opportunities from all over the world, from all universities and other countries, that they want to help to Afghan people in Afghanistan. But for a refugee that have so many problems during the life and miss so many opportunities, it is so important, because a refugee is, as I said, it's opposite of insult. It's a badge of courage, strength, and victory.
It is, definitely. Huma, you also earlier talked about the fact that it was difficult initially to get refugees out of their homes and get them involved into work. What other challenges do you think are still some that you're facing in terms of incorporating refugee men and women in terms of your work, and particularly craft stories?
Challenges have always been there. Even now, sometimes, like for instance, I'll give you guys an example. What we noticed was that the attendance used to be low in a particular month when we started out this project. But then for that 1 month, we actually deducted their salaries for the amount of hours that they did not give.
Okay.
The next month, so of course they were all very unhappy that, you know, their hours were deducted. But the next month, it was 100% attendance. And we realized that, you know, by doing so, they understood that it is all about how efficient they are, how productive they are, how the deliveries are. So it made sense to them as well. So, you know, these are little changes that we keep doing with them. We keep counseling them. There are times when they get demotivated as well. Then I hug them. Like I spent my Valentine's Day with them. I told them all, I said, you are all my Valentines. And I even posted it on my Instagram. So they loved it, you know, they love these little hopes and, you know, love and, you know, passion with which we talk to them. So like Hina was rightly saying that, you know, all they need is love, and this is exactly what we all need to give them. And the rest is all secondary. I mean, they have great potential. I think they can really go, you know, to boundaries with no limits. Like, you know, I think they have huge potential as far as my work is concerned. And I feel that their supply chain has become very strong in terms of quality, in terms of delivery. So they have come a long way, but they also see that they are generating positive results. And it is all about being positive with them. And in return, they are positive towards you.
Right, and I also understand that there are refugees also training other refugees?
Yes, I do have a Yemeni, this Yemeni lady that works with me, and also Rohingyan. The one who's from Yemen, she is part of our administrative team. She looks after the administration of the refugees. And then the best thing is that since they belong to the same community within the same camps, there's kind of a bonding between them. So it is not about Afghan refugees or refugees from Yemen or refugees from Rohingya. It is about one big family that we work with. And it is not that, you know, I'm Pakistani and they're non-Pakistani. We never consider this as anything. We are just one big happy family. And we love this about us.
Bahira, what do you think that the international community and other nations around the world can do to help facilitate Pakistan and also other host countries, and then of course make lives better for refugees?
Well, I think that's pretty simple. Again, like I said, it is about inclusion. I think Pakistan, and this is not something I'm saying because I sit here, but it is really the truth, it's factual. Pakistan has just been such an amazing host country for over 40 years. The president yesterday was saying, and I did not actually know that, he said not a single government or party ever in the history of Pakistan opposed this. They have all been, they could have had all kinds of other, you know, discussions or arguments or whatever. But this is something that they have all stood by and been united about, which is huge. And I think Pakistan needs to understand that about themselves. Pakistanis need to know that they've done, it's a huge thing to be able to open your arms and say, you know, come in.
And for 4 decades.
And for 40 years, yes, 4 decades. It's not easy. It isn't easy for host countries either. But I think, so I do think that the international community should come together and talk about this and raise awareness and share the burden. I think that is very, very important. I mean, again, Pakistan is not, like the president said yesterday, it's not a rich country. We have our own struggles, we have our own problems, and we're trying our best to sort of come out of them. We're all working hard to solve these, you know, a multitude of issues. So, and on top of that, we do welcome the refugees, and we have been. But I think that we should share this as a world problem. Not something that, okay, this is a host country or that is a host country. We should all share this. And I'm sorry that I've actually called it a burden. In fact, we should all share this very lovingly, like they all said. We should all be like, okay, these are displaced human beings, and let's make sure that we can all provide them with opportunities and also also give them enough education to understand that when these opportunities come, take them, like she said. So yes, it does work in tandem.
Right.
It has to. In fact, anything to be successful, anything to prosper, you have to work in tandem. So I think that is, and it is the responsibility of not just one nation, it is the responsibility of all nations of the world.
Right,
Yes.
and we can all start by creating a little space, first in our hearts, and then of course in our communities, and then in our countries. Looking at the way forward in the future, Hina, I'll start with you. What do you see and hope for yourself, and of course in terms of how you can contribute towards your community, and what is the kind of future that you see and hope for them?
Well, first of all, I'm not just going to contribute to a specific country. If I'm contributing to it, it's going to be for humanity. And when I call about humanity, it includes every human, not just a specific nation. Because I don't believe that these geographical maps or discriminations that we have could really discriminate us into different nations, into different people. So my contribution would always be towards peace, development, and as I said earlier, it starts with education. And earlier education, not just academic. We need to teach and practice people equality, love, compassion. That's how we can, inject and induce such thoughts in the minds of the children, that we are equal, there is no discrimination. And if we are brought up with such thoughts, I think tomorrow we won't have any conflicts or slogans raised for peace or inequality. So yes, contribution would be for peace and development of the whole world, not just a specific nation.
Excellent. Fatma, what about you? What future do you hope to see for yourself and for others?
For myself, in terms of my personality dreams, I hope one day I could and I could help Afghan women to educate in art, and people around the world hear about Afghan women power and not burqa.
Salima, what would you like to see different, and what would you like to be changed for your future to be hopeful and better?
Hina and Fatma has already spoken my heart out. I just want women empowerment, which is very necessary if a nation wants to progress. Women empowerment and health and education, these are all which I want in future.
Huma, what more do you think you can do for all of them?
I think they all have said it, what I wanted to say. I think, I would like everybody to be empowered. I would like everybody to be sustainable. I would like everyone to take care of their families and basically be empowered. So that's what I would like to see the world and all of them.
Myra, what would your message be for all the Pakistanis watching us?
I wish I wasn't the last one. I've been thinking how I can come up with a different answer. Something which
We're ending with you, so it has to be great.
Sorry?
We're ending with you, so it has to be great.
I just like all of them said. I do think if I could request the government of something, it would be to have in our syllabuses, educate and make kids aware from a very young age about several things, whether it is being tolerant, whether it is equality, whether it's gender equality or even equality amongst human beings, no matter where you're from. The refugees, XYZ, just these are basic things that should be taught, so that while you're growing up and by the time you're at a certain age, this is something that is part of who you are. You've learnt about it, and thus you will act differently. And I think that is something that we can do. I hope for it to happen. I think it will happen. I am very, very super hopeful about it. I've always seen light at the end of the tunnel, but I feel like I keep seeing it closer and closer. So my hope is for when my child grows up, there never has to be a refugee summit, that he never has to see this, inshallah. So
Inshallah,
that is
that's
my
a great
hope and dream for the world, actually.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, ladies, for being with us today. It was an honor hosting an all-women panel, which is an uncommon sight, unfortunately. But hopefully it's going to become even more common with such success stories. And all of you here are so inspiring, and we wish you all the luck. And with you making efforts towards making lives better, not just for refugees, but all of us, it's great. And I feel like we as a nation hopefully will be able to give you the future that you want and that you deserve. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being such a wonderful audience.